good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to wherever you might be in the world. We've got a couple of international attendees, and I think that's mainly to do with the guests that we have on this webinar. Yeah, a very warm welcome to you guys. And the webinar for today would be mainly focused on the Trinity Pro. It's basically our flagship eVTOL system in our product portfolio. So our agenda for today will basically comprise of the following. We will start off just with some introductions, where I would like to just gives me great pleasure to introduce the panel that we have on this webinar. And then we're going to discuss what was the vision behind the Trinity Pro. And then we're going to discuss why the Trinity Pro, why it's really kind of a great tool for large area mapping. So we're going to basically deep dive into some actual use cases here. And I'm pretty sure you guys are going to find this very, very interesting. Next up is we're going to focus on some Africa user cases and some success stories that I would like to share with you guys. What are we up to here in Africa? And then what I'm going to do is to then show you, the processing of the data in Trimble Business Center. And then we're going to close off with a Q&A session at the end. Just some quick house rules, guys. Please make sure that your mic is muted, please. Also make sure that all your cameras are switched off. And all the questions, you're more than welcome to just log them in the chat box. So please feel free, if you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to just basically just type them up there. And thank you to my colleague Sean Dane for manning the chat box for us today. And then also the recording will be obviously available after this webinar, as we do with all of our webinars. The webinar can then be found on our website. And so yeah, without further ado, let me quickly just do a quick introduction. What I'm also going to ask is all my guests, Rob and Jobst, then to basically just do a quick introduction with them when I'm handing over their part of this presentation. So yeah, the panel comprises of myself today, and then it gives me great pleasure to have Robert Leek on the call as well today. He's basically our channel manager for Quantum Systems. A very warm welcome to you, Rob. And then Jobst Stefan. So Jobst is basically a distributor in Indonesia, and it gives me great pleasure to also have him on this webinar today. So yeah, this basically now brings us to the part where, Rob, I'm going to now just hand over to you here. So if you can maybe just take control of my screen here, and then you can fire away with your part of the presentation. Once again, welcome.
Thanks very much, Gustav. I think I have control now. And thanks to everyone for joining the call. I can see there's quite a few of you. It's always great to have a webinar like this and to have so many attendees. So thank you for taking the time and for joining us today as we talk about the Trinity Pro. Okay. So a small introduction onto myself. So my name is Robert Leek, as Gustav already mentioned. I'm from Quantum Systems, and I'm the global sales manager for the team here. I've been working in drones for quite a long time now. I've had about 10 or closer to 12 years now of experience in the drone industry. I've worked all across the world. I've been working in Australia, where I'm originally from, and also here in Europe, where I'm now based, as well as helping out with integration and implementation of drones on various different mine sites all across the world now. Over those 10 years, I've done an awful lot of flying myself, either for personal reasons or for work reasons. Got well over 1,000 hours of drones flying in the air in all kinds of conditions, in all kinds of weather, in all kinds of interesting locations. And any drone pilot who's done that many hours can definitely tell you about some of the crashes. I've had plenty of crashes with all kinds of systems as well. All of that time that I've spent going through the different companies and the different drones that I've worked with, there's some good ones and there's some bad ones. But one thing that I've learned is that if you're working in the drone space, you have to be understanding and recognize what can happen if you're not paying attention, basically. All of that culminates to now where I'm at Quantum Systems, and I've been here for about 18 months or so. And as I mentioned, I'm the global sales manager, which means that I'm responsible for the commercial sales team here at Quantum Systems. And while I'm doing that, I'm also responsible for the direct sales within the Africa region, hence my working with Gustav and the rest of the team at Optron. So I wanted to talk to you just before we get started a little bit about the Trinity family history. Some of you might know this product or some of the previous iterations, some of you won't. So I wanted to give you just a little bit of history on the company and the product itself. Starting with the company, you can see the bottom picture there. We have Florian Siebel, our CEO, who's standing next to a broken one of our very first prototype Trons. And this was way back, more than well, close to 10 years ago now, when they first started out the company, and they were basically testing the waters to see what they could do by marrying the benefits of a multi-rotor platform with the benefits of a fixed-wing platform. This idea of having a VTOL platform that can, really utilize the advantages that you have with a fixed-wing platform and get that kind of coverage in that broad acre, area that a lot of people are looking to do, whilst not having to compromise too much on the actual usability and operations of it. Having spent a lot of time working with customers and mine sites throughout Africa, I can say firsthand that I've seen some of the rough and difficult conditions that people are having to work in. And having a VTOL system like this, the idea was to make sure that even if you're operating in these rough and tough environments, that the platform itself is actually able to handle those kinds of environments without needing specialized runways or launches or any of these kinds of things. So to be able to have those benefits and to be able to take off and land anywhere. And as well as that, they also wanted to bring, of course, the latest and greatest capabilities of sensors to the platform as well. Just getting a little bit of feedback. I think it's Richard. Perfect. Thank you, Richard. Appreciate that. So yeah, we started out with some very large scale platforms. As I said, that very first one, that prototype you would see is a huge system. And, the very first platform that we introduced onto the market was weighing, over 20 kilograms and was carrying large payloads like the yellow scan lidar that you can see in the snowy picture. But we wanted to make this system a little bit more flexible and a little bit more user-friendly to some people. And certainly that larger size was a little bit intimidating. So in 2017, the very first Trinity was launched. And the Trinity was our first generation, or let's call it our first major commercial product where we really pushed into the market and started to expand our international customer base. After that, we've had a few iterations. We are now onto our fourth iteration with the Trinity Pro. So we had the original Trinity, then we had the Trinity F9, followed by the Trinity F90 Plus, and then just this year launched the brand new Trinity Pro, taking all of the learnings and the benefits from all of those years of experience and all of the user feedback that we got and bringing it into the latest generation platform. That being said, as I said, there's been several years and several learnings from all of our customers. That's come from our customers and our users operating these Trinity drones in more than 90 countries, more than 145,000 flights, more than 70,000 flight hours. And over that time, we've released over 30 software and firmware revisions in order to be able to implement and change the functionality and the features of the drone in accordance with the requests that we've had from our customers. And we've also been able to expand our family and really push the boundaries of our global distribution network as well by introducing and having a family of over 80 resellers across the globe. So it truly is a global system. We have customers flying in every corner of the world, on every continent, including in Antarctica. We've had a couple of missions down there. So yeah, it's been a long road, but we've certainly learned a lot from some very interesting customer stories through that time. Okay, so why the Pro? Well, there's a few different reasons and things to learn about this. As I mentioned, we've changed the product and we've learned a lot over the years as we've developed. And one of the things that we always want to push forward with a product like this is of course the hardware specifications. Understanding from our customers the kinds of conditions that they need to operate in and some of the limitations that they face. So the introduction of the Trinity Pro enabled us to really push the boundaries on the hardware side and introduce several new features and capabilities that are really industry leading, let's say. So things like being able to handle the highest amount of wind of any VTOL platform in this weight class, being able to take off and land in up to 12 meters per second of wind, despite irrespective of sort of the payloads that we're normally carrying, being able to fly in up to 18 meters per second of wind gusts when we're in the air, being able to fly for 90 minutes, and all of that while being IP55 rated to handle dust ingress and water ingress, and still being able to carry on despite the tough weather conditions. We've also been able to introduce some really useful features for Africa specifically, where we've got increased cooling capabilities, which enable us increased cooling and also improved motors and speed controllers, which enable the system to take off and land in hotter environments and to higher altitudes without having to compromise there, just based on the hot and dusty conditions that I know that a lot of places, a lot of users are having to experience there. And as well as that, there are several other internal hardware changes that we made. One of the key ones, of course, being the autopilot, which is a brand new autopilot for the commercial products, but a platform that we've been using internally at Quantum on our government products for quite some time now. So to bring some of the advantages and some of the software developments that we've done on the government side with our Vector and Scorpion products, and also bring those across to the commercial product with the Trinity Pro, enabled us to really streamline and get the most out of our R&D department that we wanted to. On the software side, of course, we have also improved in some of the capabilities there, again, based on customer feedback. We're finding that a lot of our customers using a Trinity platform are wanting to do long-range, linear infrastructure projects. So doing things like being able to take off and land at different locations, having what we call an A/B landing system, and some other general improvements that we've made to the usability of the Cubase, which is the controlling software, to just make it a little bit more user-friendly. And of course, there's additional developments that are happening on the software side as we go forward as well. And that really ties into that last point, the evolution. Why did we want to produce this product? Well, actually, one of the key reasons that we developed this product is not only the evolution of the third to the fourth generation product, but also looking into the future and trying to get to where we believe the industry is headed. So when we think about the Trinity Pro and what people have been doing with our product up until now and what we think people will be wanting to do with our product in the future, we've really designed this product to be capable of evolution as we go forward. And what I mean by that is things like increasing the software capabilities in particular. That autopilot that I mentioned back on the hardware point is significantly more powerful and capable than our last generation autopilot. And actually, as it stands today, most of the operations of the drone actually really only use a very small portion of the hardware capabilities of that platform. We have several hardware features hidden and locked away at the moment that will be expanded upon as the months and the years go by. And we have some big ideas and big plans on what we want to do with the additional processing and compute power of that autopilot and linking it together with some next generation payloads to really push the boundaries of what customers are able to do with a large scale data acquisition drone such as the Trinity Pro. So I spoke about payloads. I just want to quickly touch on the different cameras that we have available, or I should say payloads, because one of them isn't actually a camera. But we have at the moment 5 different payloads that are available for our Trinity Pro platform. And you can see that the range here is pretty wide. So we have our traditional RGB-based sensors, so photogrammetry. And this is what a lot of people end up using their drones for. And certainly within the surveying and mining space, that's what we see quite a lot of. So our most popular sensor is the Sony RX1, and that is a high performance 42 megapixel RGB sensor, and it produces really fantastic data quality. Most of our users are flying at around 100 to 120 meters, yielding about 1.3 to 1.5 centimeters. The kind of quality and accuracy that you can get out of a system like this is really quite impressive. And for any kind of earthworks projects, any kind of general survey and mapping projects, the quality from this particular payload is really next level. Moving on, we have the Oblique D2M. So this is a unique camera that actually has 5 different sensors on board, and they're all firing at the same time. So rather than just a single photo being shot straight down, we have those 5 26 megapixel sensors all capturing all of them at different angles. So one straight down, one to the left, one to the right, one forward and one back at every single point. And what that yields is actually an incredibly detailed set of photos, not only nadir, but those oblique ones as well, which when processed can give you truly phenomenal 3D data sets. Those 3D data sets really shine when you start to look at some more extreme vertical surfaces. So things like pit walls, cityscapes, anything with a lot of verticality, so cliffs and that sort of thing, really show up fantastically with the Oblique D2M. So we're seeing this be quite a popular product for wall mapping, as well as digital twins when people are starting to do urban mapping and things like that as well. We have our Cube 240 LiDAR. We are the first fixed wing manufacturer to have, well, again, within our weight class that has been able to introduce a LiDAR like this, and it's a fantastic LiDAR. To be able to capture upwards of 300 400 hectares in a single flight, depending on the height and the overlap, of course. But being able to cover those kinds of areas with a high-grade survey LiDAR is really been a massive game changer. I've in my 10 years in this industry, I've had a lot of people asking me about LiDAR over the years, and I've been watching with great interest as the technology improves and shrinks down to the sizes and the capabilities that we see here. So it's certainly an exciting product, and anyone who's wanting to do anything that any kind of mapping or topographic surveys that has to deal with any kind of vegetation should certainly be looking at a product like that. And then last but not least, we have the 2 MicaSense cameras there as well, both the Red Edge P and the Alton PT. Both of these are focused on sort of the more agricultural type of applications, of course, but we have both of those options with the 2 different sets of resolutions and GST that you would get accordingly. All right, example applications. So I told you we've had a lot of customers dealing in a lot of different industries all around the world. I don't want to go too far into the details on this, but I just thought I'd give a couple of examples of some of the things that our customers have actually started using our drones for. So something I'm sure a lot of the people in this call would recognize is progress monitoring within the mining space. It's a very easy to prove application, right? Because we can very quickly and easily show how the data accuracy from a drone compares against something like a traditional survey with a total station or with a GPS. But certainly the mining industry has been a fantastic adopter of drone technology over the years. We're also starting to look at power line inspections in the utility space. There's multiple different facets of the power line inspection game, but certainly things like vegetation encroachment and sag detection. And we've had some customers who are starting to branch out and test the waters with the LiDAR system now for that particular application. We have pipeline monitoring starting to happen now within the civil survey space. We have massive cadastre projects in Africa and in India and in other parts of the world where we have areas where the cadastre map has basically been borderline non-existent or maybe a little bit out of date. So huge scale projects to update and modernize these systems have been undertaken by drones and certainly by fixed wing platforms like the Trinity Pro. And actually one of our largest customers in the world is running a massive cadastre project using Trinity's, and they've got literally hundreds of units chugging away every single day. Within another one is coastal monitoring within civil survey. Unfortunately, this is something that's coming up more and more as we see a bit more interesting weather happening with the climate. But coastal monitoring has been a really important and impressive application we've seen people doing. We're starting to get some road and rail surveys as well. Where guys are really chasing the high level accuracy. We're starting to see the adoption of that industry. Post-disaster mapping, of course, we're seeing that happening quite a lot. Unfortunately, again, it's not something that we really want to see, but we're glad that our technology is able to help in that sphere. Weed management and feed biomass and disease and pest management within the agricultural space. Agriculture has been a little bit slow on drone technology, but we're starting to see that ramp up now finally. And we think that, especially for broadacre and large scale crops, this is an absolute game changer for them. And the forestry industry with crop health and inventory being a bit of a new player as well. again, the large-scale types of projects that these guys are working on really lend themselves well to a fixed-wing platform like the Trinity Pro, and we're starting to see the adoption increase as more AI solutions and technology come along. All right, last point I want to touch on just very quickly to give you a bit of a hint on where we're going as a company. I mentioned payloads and I mentioned evolution and what all of that culminates in. Quantum systems, for us, we really want to see what we can do and push the boundaries. Back in the day, that started out by trying to push the boundaries of the hardware and the platform to get the benefits and without having to have too many compromises. But we truly believe that the next level of drones is going to be, even wider adoption of these platforms. And what that means is marrying those high-grade, high-performance payloads and some of the new payloads that we're working on in the background to things like AI and automation. And I know that that's a bit of a buzzword, but that's truly the direction that we want to be going in, right? To be able to use these drones for things like automatic detection, automatic feature extraction. It's not something that's happening right now, but the systems that are on board the drone on the Trinity Pro already will start to get us towards in that direction as we have that additional processing power on board. And the last point here of the drone ports is really an exciting one. Drone ports is not, we're not the first ones to invent this. We've seen other companies talking about it as well. But as we move towards a world where genuine autonomous drones, i.e. drones without a pilot in the loop, can become possible, drone ports will certainly be an exciting part of that. So we want to make sure that we're well invested and well positioned to be able to service customers that we've had talking about this. Everything from infrastructure monitoring and mapping through to mine security and surveillance and everything in between. Fully autonomous drones and the drone ports that are necessary to enable that will be a big part of our future at Quantum Systems as well.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Rob. Thank you so much. Thank you for just sharing with us, the vision behind the Trinity Pro. Really much appreciated. I'm now going to hand over to Jobst. Jobst, if you can maybe just take over your part of the presentation. You should have control now. Jobst, just unmute yourself there.
Okay, thank you, Gustav. Great presentation from Robert, our friend. So see you in other side of the world, maybe in nearest time.
Absolutely, I'll see you very soon, Jobst.
Yeah. Okay, my name is wait, where do I click? Okay, my name is Vistovan from Indonesia. Now I'm distributing quantum systems if it's all UAV in Indonesia, and I built my own company in the third years of my sales activity. So this company will focus on only operation and maintenance, repair, after sales, and training for quantum systems product only. So now Indonesia is the world's largest archipelagic state, and the 14th largest country by area is 1,900,000 square kilometers located in Southeast Asia. And it consists 5 major islands and about 30 smaller groups, and we are famous for its tropical beach, imposing volcanoes, as well as history and religious sites that exude a local charm, or maybe we call it cultural charm. And quantum systems already fly and test for performance in those areas, in every area that I pointed, and I will tell my story in my part of presentation. Why Trinity Pro? The answer is because our client need more reliable, more safety, more compliance with the regulation, more feature, more automated, and many more. That's typical of professional surveyor market always needed. At first, we tell story behind it. When in 2016 to 2018, technology of VTOL fixed wing start to escalate to combine between multi-copter and fixed wing modes. And that is for minimized crash in takeoff or landing. According to remote pilot course that I already certified before, some theory said that crash potential is 75% in takeoff and landing. And in that era, the demand of a fixed-wing drone technology is vertical takeoff landing system is rising, and we fly our first Trinity in Indonesia in 2018, including the drone lidar with our client in 2019. And then Trinity evolved again in 2019 from Trinity version 1 to Trinity F9 when professional surveyors demand asking for accuracy and precision. In F9, we integrate the PPK system. In this era, Trinity is not concerned in terrain following and FAA regulation, and it's just for accuracy mapping. So many feature is still in development. In 2019, Trinity evolving again from Trinity F9 to Trinity F90+. And this is the last evolution that we fly until today. Trinity F90+ is released when the drone technology must compliance with aviation regulation, high demand on safety to keep expensive sensors safe when they crash, lightweight and low-cost LiDAR systems. From 2019 to 2023, Trinity always added the new feature of safety, free update firmware that helps Trinity more perform in motor, EST temperatures, and many features that help professional surveyor to focus on their mapping project. Then focus on how do the reparation on the field and thinking about how to fix the drone, because many other drone sales always leave them after they purchase the drone. And for the accuracy, is finished to develop in this period of time. And in this era of Trinity F90+, we only noted 5 crashes in 10,000 flights from all Indonesian clients because of human error and system error, or 5 crashes only from 2019 to 2023. And in 2023, quantum systems saw that new era has come and survey business grow to an automated air mobility, artificial intelligence, more technology, user-friendly technology, effective and efficient, high return investment, low maintenance, easy to repair without send them back to the factory or buyers, high capacity on onboard computer and futuristic features. That's what we face now. And Trinity F90+ already in maximum capacity. And of course, we need a bigger capacity on board computer in our Trinity. That is the evolution of Trinity in Indonesia from time to time, from every error, from every crash, from every flight experience, like Robert said before. And we write it on in multiple use cases from clients that already used in 2018 to 21 and still operate until now. Okay, this is when Trinity version 1, we already doing mapping from urban mapping, oil and gas mapping, and then mining, and then for oil palm plantation. In this era, we don't have any multiple feature like terrain following, safety feature, or PPK. We just doing mapping. And then in Trinity F90+ era, in Trinity F90+, we have many flights, especially first flight in mining company in Borneo and plant plantation, and that years in this state-owned company becoming biggest user the Trinity that years. Now the Trinity F90+ becoming more robust with bigger motors and using engineering design cooling system that using cruise wind entering the aircraft computer to keep cool temperature in payload board and onboard computers. And some crazy use case in here born with our Trinity client, and many feature requests is born in this area. And of course, our client is changing from oil palm plantation to mining and forestry. And of course, infrastructure that always need accuracy and terrain following to maintain same ground sampling distance in each evaluation. Now you can see in this video, we are mapping in Almira. So Cube 240 is also remarkable pilot that born in this era. and start distributing in Indonesia in the end of 2021. This LiDAR sensor can scan 380 hectares for 45-minute flight, and with 0.4 meters square for altitude 110 meters, we get 90 or 80 points per meter square. And the data is still #1 quality in Indonesia regarding to expert in geometric faculty that we asked to make independent comparison with all other product. Combined with flight safety, flight analysis in QBase and trend following based on update DEM data. Trinity F90 Plus is used by our mining client to do LiDAR scanning for wide area and long range mission. Then next. This is the area that we map. This is the obstacle in Halmahera. We are doing mapping, extreme mapping, and tricky mapping in this area. So we, with copter LiDAR, they have no access on that. And then we are mapping with fixed wing. So in this area, we achieve 150 hectares with 110 meters above ground level altitude. And this is the result for Cube 240. Next is our mission. Again, we do in the jungle. Can I get the console here? Click. Okay. This is doing mapping in Morowali. This client is doing LiDAR mission every day in every region of their site in Morowali and Papua New Guinea. I do the hard training in this client that we must test Trinity transportation to enter jungle and cross the hard terrain in Indonesia. Trinity LiDAR data is using by our client in Morowali to map all the new site of core construction planning, and in their perspective, Trinity LiDAR data is more accurate than airborne LiDAR mission, and of course more simple to do mapping every time, and more cheaper in data acquisition than doing it with airborne LiDAR. In this mission, we request to Quantum System to add the feature that Trinity can automatically coming home to safe altitude or safe route to home point to avoid crash when Trinity coming home. For your information, in 2019 and 2021, Trinity will enter safe mode to home point from last altitude, and this condition will easily make Trinity crash when you initiate coming home. This is the LiDAR mission that in 2021, and then we are doing many missions in RGB mapping. Yeah, I also carried for RGB mapping use case also carried out in area that quite difficult and very tricky, especially in Aceh and some region. And for RGB, the biggest private company use our system for mapping toll road projects, for planning, survey, inspection, and with fix for the mapper, they find accuracy for RGB mapping the same with LiDAR accuracy. And then one of our sub reseller, TerraDrone, if you can see the video, is doing crazy mission execute in Ambon Island, is Indonesia. Is knowing with the high wind. In this mission, we do the training for low altitude flight in narrow elevation, like you can see in the video. In this mission, we combine multiple mission type from corridor, path, and area mission. Thanks for the flight analysis in QBase 3D. So we know that we can crash before the flight mission was executed. Of course, it's because we can easily input our own DEM from photogrammetry mapping before we do the LiDAR mission. In this mission, we push Trinity to fly in minus 350 to 400 meters from takeoff point, when many of others drone system always initiate coming home when they reach minus 200 or 250 meters. For durability and lifetime, and minor maintenance. We can prove it from our client in forestry that doing daily mapping for their 350,000 hectares every month and every year. This is serial number 63. They buy from 2019, and now they already reached 1,400 flight and almost reached 1,000 hours flight. You can see the unit colors become a Benetton after they change with the new wings, and the new and the rear fuselage elapor already slowly become white because of their sweet fat and erode the outer layer from the elapor foam. And at last, we show you one of large area mapping. Large area mapping in Papua New Guinea. This is from Freeport, Indonesia. We are mapping the airport area, and in this mapping, we do 300 hectares per flight, and we're doing it at, I think, in the evening, so the LiDAR more high quality were in the evening. So from some rough review and Trinity experience in Indonesia, proof that Trinity F90 Plus is still the best sophisticated eVTOL UAV system in Indonesia from the feature aspects, and then technology, durability, and lifetime support system. But why now we evolving again? We can tell you a story about Indonesia flight condition. In some area, we still have any uncertainty weather, especially local rain, and that we cannot predict. So sometimes Indonesian client always fly in the rain. So from 5 crashes that I mentioned before, 2 of them is emergency landing from hard rain because Trinity cannot reach home point because of heavy rain. And it's answered by IP55 in Trinity Pro. So, and it's a raining and dust-proof system that support with new robust motors and ESC that can stabilize Trinity in the higher wind when doing takeoff and landing. And of course, to initiate linear landing in some narrow or turbulence winds area. Another obstacle, and it's famous in Indonesia, is spiritual or supernatural obstacle. It indicates with suddenly in some spot the Trinity face no GNSS detected or GPS is 0. For conventional fixed wing system, it will make drone suddenly crash or fly away and disappears. The issue is answered in Trinity Pro and if in F90 Plus with the new feature safe return path and GNSS deny. So Trinity still can fly in jamming area or in area that have no GPS. Another factor in Indonesia is customer always focus in after sales service. After many times they try new drone technology from overseas, many sales are focused in sales only. And when it comes problem, they make it hard situation. Sometimes the sales staff is already moved to another company and leave the end customer alone. Start from 2021, Trinity using the plug and play system. So the client is easy to install for autopilot, ESG, and motor exchange. That's why Quantum designed the Pro is applicable for repair by on end customer. That's from me, Gustav. So that's my story, and thank you for you all.
Thanks, Jovis. Thank you so much for that. Guys, can somebody just switch off their or mute themselves, please? Sorry, guys, I'm just want to quickly open up the webinar of the presentation again. There we go. Systems webinar. Sorry, for some reason the presentation closed. All right, so yeah, guys, I'm just opening it up here on my side quickly and just go to my part of the presentation. Jovis, thank you. And while I'm just waiting for my presentation just to load again, guys, I mean, you guys can now see, you know, the extreme conditions and the limits that that Jovis and his team is actually pushing the Trinity Pro. And hence the reason why we decided to get him on this webinar is just to really show, you know, what they're doing And it's quite remarkable. And they've been on this whole journey, seeing how the Trinities are actually evolving. So, yeah, Jovis, thank you for that insight. Okay, so as for my part of the presentation, I'm going to now just focus on some of the user cases. It gives me great pleasure just to show what are our clients up to with the Trinities that's currently on African soil. So without further ado, so yeah, from my side, for the guys who don't know me, there's just a quick introduction. I'm currently basically the product manager for quantum systems in Optron. So yeah, and there's just a little bit, basically obtained my RPL in 2019, and I've done several flights with the Trinity F90 Plus and also with the new Trinity Pro. All right, so the first user case is from B2 Gold, and I would just like to use this opportunity just to thank Sydney and his team. But that's basically just a little bit about what they using it for. So they've purchased the system in 2022. They are doing at least one flight per week, and there's just some of the applications that they are using it for. There's also some different other use cases, right? That's not really mining like, where they are actually doing some multispectral analysis on a mined-owned farm. So there you can just see the versatility of the system by using a different payload, as what was mentioned by Rob. You can really it's one system and it can be used for various applications. You just need to basically change your payload options. But there's just a little bit about that. Flight time on this specific flight was 15 minutes, and they covered about 276 hectares. Then also now a little bit more mining related, still with B2 Gold, but there's just some of, one of the flights that they've done, the flight time. They used to make use of a contractor. They're doing everything in-house now these days. And this specific flight was about 1 hour, and they covered about 3,385 hectares. And yeah, so the flight is now basically be done quarterly, where it was back in the day, they did flights every 4 years. So you can just kind of see that the drones are being used more and more for data capture. Then just a local firm, once again, also purchased the Trinity F90 Plus in 2022. They are basically using it for various applications. There's just a couple that I've mentioned there, but predominantly they're using it for detailed contour surveys. And that's basically just an example of the type of output or the deliverables that they will basically now submit to their clients, making use of the Trinity F90 Plus. Right, then the last user case, this is basically just something or a user case where we have been involved. And this was on a site in the Northern Cape. And the task was basically to map out an area and to generate a ortho photo and a digital terrain model or a digital surface model. And the objective was to then use the data for electrical infrastructure planning. The specific flight was 1 hour and 7 minutes. And that was the equipment that was used. And we basically captured 1,542 images in this flight. So here on the left-hand side, that's just basically the layout where we've placed our GCPs. In the middle, you can just see what we did was we just basically just built our own GCPs there and numbered them. And then on the right-hand side was our demo F90 Plus. All right, so then this was basically the output. On the left-hand side was now the generated ortho photo, and we did the processing in Trimble Business Center. And on the right-hand side was just a glimpse of the ground control point that we've marked out. And there you can just see a quick screenshot of that. Okay, this part will then, now I'm going to just show you quickly a quick introduction on the, the steps to follow in Trimble Business Center and also why Trimble Business Center. And that will then be followed by a quick a demo where I'm just going to show you a couple of things in Trimble Business Center. All right, workflows. Let's talk workflows. All right, basically what happens where. So now, once you've captured your data with your Trinity Pro and with your payload, let's say in this instance, it was the Sony RX1 payload, you will then basically import the data into Cubase 3D, and that is now where the geotagging will also take place. So you will then use your base station or the iBase system that comes with the Trinity F90 Plus or Trinity Pro, for example. You will then use to now geotag your images in the Cubase 3D software. And with the Cubase 3D software, as the guys have been pointed out, Jovist and Robert, is that's the software that you would do your mission planning in as well. Once you've done that, the geotagging has been done, you will then use that images, your geotagged images, you'll import that into Trimble Business Center, then to now do your processing, and then to generate your deliverables. So there's just a glimpse of, typically how the mission would look like, or your mission planning process would look like in Cubase 3D. And then next up is then once you've processed and you've completed your processing in Trimble Business Center, a typical report like this can be generated. Okay, next up is, just for interest sake, just the LiDAR payload option and how the workflow then changes. In here, you will start off once again with your Cubase 3D data. Or your Cubase 3D software, where you will download all the LiDAR data now from the Cube 240 payload. The data will then go into the Applanix Poshpack package. For there, what you will do is to do your direct georeferencing of your LiDAR data, from your trajectory data. Then from there on, you will then move over to the Cloud Station post-processing software. And this is now where you would use that software package to then get a georeferenced point cloud. You will also do your colorization using a previously generated orthophoto, but that's basically just a step to now get it to a workable LAS file format. Once that is done, you can then take that LAS file and then seamlessly import that into Trimble Business Center. So there, what you can see there, that's just a screenshot. And now typically how that trajectory correction would typically look like. And then next up is, that's just a screenshot of what happens in Cloud Station software. But guys, this is just the difference quickly, just highlighting the typical and the difference of workflows between the Sony RX1 and then the Cube 240 payload. Okay, so let's now focus on Trimble Business Center. So for the guys who's not familiar with Trimble Business Center, is that there's a lot of focus on the software in making this part of processing your UAV data as easy and as less of button pushing as possible. So what the guys in Trimble have basically done is now you'll see that you will have a photogrammetry tab, and you basically have a left to right approach. So you'll start off by creating your project. Next up is do your data import. And then you would move over to your photo adjustments. This is now basically your absolute adjustment to do your tie point extractions. Next up is if you're making use of your GCPs, there's an additional step of to adjust your photo stations using GCPs. And then the final step will then be to select your and generate your deliverables. Once again, with the deliverables, you create what you want. You select the resolution and you basically select the point density. So this is now just the final step where you generate your deliverables. There's basically, as I've mentioned, you decide what you want. So if you want a high dense point cloud, you will select that option and you can generate it. Obviously, what you choose will have an effect on your processing time. So what the advantage here is that you basically select what you need. So this is just to show you, you can either do the LAS file separately, or you can do, for instance, your LAS file and your ortho mosaic all in one go by selecting the necessary tick box, what you can see there on the right-hand side. But this is just to give you guys a quick glimpse of what to do and what to select. Okay. So before we move over to the actual demonstration part, I just want to basically show you. So, I mean, you'll start off with the takeoff. And this is just to give you an idea of How does the Trinities basically operate, and how do they actually now do their takeoff missions? So that's just to give you an idea of that. It will go up until in this case was about 40 meters, and then it will go on its mission, and then the unit will come back to land. Okay. Then you download the data and then basically do your geotagging in Cubase 3D. Now you take the data into Trimble Business Center, and this is now where I'm just going to quickly jump into Trimble Business Center. Okay, so first off, what you start off with is by creating your project, and this is quite a simple process. You'll go to File, New, Create Project, and it will take you to your coordinate system settings. And I'm going to show you now in the photogrammetry tab is that you can actually just jump straight to that. But this is now where you would go name your project. Well, you've named your project. Now you will go to your photogrammetry tab. And next up is to start with your coordinate system. In this instance, it's we use the South African grid coordinate system, Hartebeesthoek and WG23. And once you've selected that, you guys can see, the next step is basically now to import your data. So you would now go to where the directory where that images have been stored. So once you basically go there, you will now browse, select it, and then it will basically determine the focal length now from the EXIF data that's linked to your images. And then what you do is then to import your images. Okay. Next part will then be to now go to your adjust photo station function. And this is where it will now take all these, the overlap of these images to now search for type points. And that will basically now start the first process of basically stitching these images together. Next part is now where you would actually go in and you will snap off on your GCPs. You'll basically then complete that now for the GCPs that you want to use for your mission. Okay. After you've done that, you will now move over to creating your deliverables. And I'm just going to quickly show you guys this part. But once again, what you do here is you select your flight mission and you will select either your digital terrain model and your digital surface model. So for instance, for the sake of saving time, you can already select the digital terrain model if you're only interested in the ground points. So you will select that there. You determine your density that you want, low, medium, or high. And the next part is also, if you're interested in creating your orthomosaic, everything in one go and not separately, you can now go and you can select what type of resolution it is that you need. Okay, and then also your formats. If you have a look at your formats in your point cloud, there's your options that you can now generate. And then it's a matter of clicking create. And then next up is now, if I quickly scroll down or use my filter manager, this is a very nice feature within Trimble Business Center where you can now seamlessly switch on, switch off what you need to see. So in this instance now, let's quickly focus on the ortho photo. So there you guys can now see for the serious surveyors that's on the call, you would wonder why is that GCP not in the flight area? That was just basically getting access to that area. But I must say, after watching Jovis's video from where they are getting into, I think I was just being lazy. Anyways, but just to basically now continue with this part, and this is now just to show you this specific orthophoto was a 60 millimeter. The GSD was 60 millimeters per pixel. And here you can just kind of get an idea of what the quality of the orthophoto was like. Right, so that's basically now our orthophoto. Next up is now to just switch on our point cloud regions. So what I've done is I've selected the low point cloud region, and this was just purely just for the sake of time. Once again, depending on what you needed to do is that you just need to select the appropriate output. So in this instance, low resolution, Then just to give you guys an idea of some of the cleaning up tools that you can use in TBC, if you go to your point cloud regions, my apologies, you can now quickly go and you can extract the ground points. So what you will do is then to select your classification type. In this instance, it was a UAV, so it's aerial option. And I will select ground points, classify. Okay, stay with. Okay, sorry, my apologies. You might have missed me there. But just to continue with this part, I'm just going to quickly classify this region. Sorry, first, as you guys can see there, the software is actually warning you. So I first needed to select my point cloud, extract classified point clouds, go to your aerial. And for this instance, I'm just going to select ground. Okay, and I want to create a new region, classify this. And this is just to quickly give you an idea of how quickly the algorithm reacts. So now you can now see that's basically now my point cloud. So now if I wanted to only work with my ground point cloud, I can now go and I can switch off the parts that I don't want. And for instance, let's say I needed to create a quick detail or a contour plan, I can now go just drape these points with the surface. The spacing between the points was approximately 1 meter, and that was now on the low resolution. Guys, I'm just going to quickly, for the sake of time, just show the last part. But I just wanted to show you guys basically this process of working and creating surfaces. And then the last part would be just to generate contours. So if I now basically go, select contours, what is my the interval? I'm just going to make it 1 meter, and then smooth contours, and I'm going to make that 0. I'm expecting 13 point contour lines, and that's basically how you would go about generating this. All right, I think in this instance, it used the GCPs as well, and that's why it's making these spikes. But this is now just to give you guys an idea of how to go about, what, the processing part. Also, the other advantage is if you're using a Trimble equipment or any GPS receiver, the points can now seamlessly just be imported into Trimble Business Center. So what's nice about Trimble Business Center is that it's basically your geospatial hub. So all kinds of geospatial data can then basically be imported into TBC. But guys, this is just a quick intro into the processing part. Also, the other important thing that I just wanted to share as well is that you can, after your processing, after your adjustments, you can now go, a detailed report will be generated showing you exactly, making sure that your job or your project was well within tolerance. You'll have a hands-on approach, and this is basically what you can generate after the necessary adjustments. Okay, I'm now going to just go over the last part is the question and answers part quickly. So I just want to go back to my screen here and then basically just continue on this part. Sorry guys, just want to quickly and current slide. Okay, just see what's happening from current slide. Okay, I'm just going to now jump over to the questions in the chat box. Sean, is there maybe any questions that I might have missed? I see there was a hand up a little bit earlier.
Stuff I've handled most of them as far as I can see. Otherwise, guys must just fill out the little smart sheet link, and we'll handle the questions afterwards. But I've answered all the ones I could.
Fantastic. Yeah, thank you so much, Sean. Guys, I think just for the sake of time, it's 4 o'clock on my watch now. My apologies for running slightly over. But I think the message, I hope the message came out nice and strong, especially what Jovist and Robert shared. This is what I would have liked you guys just to kind of realize is that these equipment are being used on a daily basis and in harsh environments, like Jovist has pointed out. So please feel free, if you have any questions, as Sean mentioned, please just fill in or follow the link, fill in all your questions, or make contact with your local sales consultant, and we're happy to basically just show you a little bit more and come and do a demonstration for you guys as well. Just the last part, then, guys, please. Also, we are active on social media networks. So please feel free just to see what we're up to. Follow our social media platforms. Yeah. Then lastly is just a big thank you, Robert and Jovist. If you guys can maybe just switch on your cameras again. But yeah, I really do appreciate you guys joining this call, and also to all our attendees. We really hope that you guys have found this worth your while, and thank you for taking the time out. So yeah, please feel free to reach out if you have any further questions. Rob, Jovist, from my side, just a very, very thank you. And yeah, and I really do appreciate your support.
Okay, you're welcome, Gustav.
Thanks for putting this together, Gustav. It was excellent. And thanks everyone for your time.
Fantastic. Yeah, thanks, guys. Yeah, guys, have a good one. And yeah, see you hopefully all soon. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks. Bye.